to Davis, California as I was entering my teenage years. It is a college town, a very affluent area, and residents lovingly refer to it as a bubble. As such, I had never really interacted with religion in a way that forced me to confront my beliefs. My parents raised my siblings and I in a secular environment. I had been to a handful of Lutheran church services, and I enjoyed the few Jewish traditions that had filtered down through the generations. Due to my infrequent and irregular interactions with religion, I generally viewed religious traditions as peaceful, kind, and empathetic, and I viewed people of faith as the remnants of a gradually disappearing theistic world. The city of Davis is a prime example of the religious diversity of California. There are more than 100 religious establishments in less than 10 square miles, including 6 interfaith institutions. I went to school with Christians and Jews, Sikhs and Muslims, and everything in between. A few years ago, someone vandalized a local mosque, and non-Muslim volunteers from the community volunteered to clean the bacon off the bike racks and door handles and scrub the walls of spray-painted graffiti. My assumptions about the religious and my general inexperience were first challenged by the 2016 presidential election. I was positively dumbfounded by the hate I saw from proud theists. I couldn't understand how anyone who claimed to be acting in the interest of a loving God could be so violent and cruel to their fellow humans. The second piece of my philosophical catalyst came about a year and a half later in my history class. When learning about oppression of minorities, my history teacher encouraged us to take a revisionist view, to look for the untold or suppressed stories. I had learned about revisionist approaches to history before, but it wasn't until this moment that I realized that people who expressed hate or intolerance weren't necessarily doing these things out of the evilness of their hearts, but because that was the way they knew how to look at the world. It was their story, their life. Just as there were truths I held to be self-evident, so were the truths of these people. I had a similar revelation about religion. I had held the idea that all religious people had some sort of doubt they were ignoring in order to continue to feel connected to their religious communities. But through a lot of introspection and research, my ideas changed drastically.
The more for me, was the science, right? Learning more about science and getting deeper into the scientific method and all that kind of stuff. But also, the more you learn about other cultures, you can't, it just seemed like I couldn't say, oh, well, my religion is correct and that religion is wrong and blah, 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 blah. But there's also so many similarities. And then the more I started thinking about it and learning, I realized that religion was a construct of human beings to explain the things that they didn't have the science to explain, but now we do. We have the science to explain why amazing things happen. Most of the things, there's still things that we're exploring and learning about, but that's probably it.
When I was growing up, I just assumed that what I was being told was accurate, and then I guess when I met a bunch of other people with different ideas and stuff, it probably made the biggest difference. Well, I guess my original point of view, perspective, whatever, was that anybody who wasn't, Christian or Lutheran or whatever was incorrect in their view on the world. Then I came to realize that it's just one of many options, religious ideas out there, and that why was that one right? Also, I sort of started to see that some of the stories in the Bible just didn't line up with my personal experiences.
Since I had never really examined how religion shapes people's lives, I decided to launch an investigation into the practices and beliefs held by various groups in hopes of determining why people follow the doctrines they do. Initially, I watched 19 Kids and Counting on TLC, which gave me a basic idea of what daily life is like for more religious individuals. I then moved on to more unfamiliar traditions, like Mormonism and Jehovah's Witnesses. After this, I watched videos made by skeptics who analyzed and dismantled religious arguments. I still watch these types of videos to this day. I had a special interest in the methods by which religious groups influenced and continue to influence historical and political movements. This investigation is ongoing, but it has helped me develop my working model of my personal beliefs, as well as completely reframing the way I approach new ideas. I'm privileged to live somewhere where such an inquiry is possible. Without pressures from the outside to come up with a prescribed outcome, I was able to learn in a way that was helpful and interesting to me. Due to the religious diversity of California and my community, I felt safe to conduct my investigation, to deconstruct my core values, and develop a more conscientious worldview. My journey is nowhere near complete, and I expect to struggle with these questions my entire life. My goal is to have an open mind whenever encountering any new idea, and to be fair not only to others, but to myself. I encourage everyone to make use of the freedoms granted to them, to look at their core beliefs and critically analyze them, to ask themselves, what ideas are most important to how I view the world? Why do I believe them? And how do other people's views compare?